Taylor Swift, in its entirety Taylor Allison Swift, an American pop and country music singer-songwriter, was born on December 13, 1989, in West Reading, Pennsylvania, in the United States. Swift's stories of adolescent grief helped her attain global acclaim in the early 21st century. Taylor Swift is one of the biggest female artists in the world, and she has several fans all over the world. However, what makes her tick? What drives her? Stay with us as we look into the life of Taylor Swift, from her humble beginnings to the big name she has now become in the world of music. Chapter 1: Her Early Life. Swift's enthusiasm for music was evident from an early age, and she made rapid strides from parts in children's theater to her first performance in front of an audience of thousands during her career. She was only 11 years old when she sang a rendition of "The Star-Spangled Banner" before a Philadelphia 76ers basketball game. The next year, she took up the guitar and started writing songs. Swift wrote unique songs that expressed her feelings of preteen alienation, drawing her inspiration from country music performers such as Shania Twain and the Dixie Chicks. At the age of 13, Taylor Swift's parents sold their farm in Pennsylvania and moved to Hendersonville, Tennessee. This allowed her to dedicate more of her time to pursuing record deals with country labels in Nashville, which was located close to Hendersonville. Swift was able to earn the acquaintance of music industry veterans as a result of a development agreement she had with RCA Records. In 2004, when she was just 14 years old, she signed a composer contract with Sony/ATV. Many of the songs that she had written were played in places in the Nashville region, and it was at one of these performances that she came to the attention of Scott Borchetta, an executive at a record label. Swift's debut single, Tim McGraw, which was released in the summer of 2006, was inspired by and heavily referenced a song by Swift's favorite country performer, Tim McGraw. Borchetta signed Swift to his embryonic Big Machine label, and the track was released in the summer of 2006. Chapter 2: Rise to Fame. The song, Tim McGraw, was an instant hit, remaining on the Billboard Country Singles list for a total of 8 months. Swift released her first album, which she christened after herself when she was 16 years old, and she went on tour, opening for Rascal Flatts. Swift kept a hard touring schedule throughout 2007, opening for musicians such as George Strait, Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw, and Faith Hill. As a result of her success in 2007, her album was certified platinum for having sales of more than 1 million copies in the United States. Swift was honored by the Country Music Association, CMA, with the Horizon Award for Best New Artist in November of the same year, closing off a year in which she established herself as country music's most prominent rising star. Fearless, Swift's second studio album, was released in 2008, and it was on this album that she displayed a sophisticated pop sense. She was able to woo the mainstream pop audience without losing sight of her country's origins. The album Fearless debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 list after its first week of release, during which it sold more than 500,000 copies. In the end, it dominated that chart to a greater extent than any other album that was released during that decade. Singles such as You Belong With Me and Love Story were hits in the digital market as well. More than 4 million paid downloads were accounted for by Love Story alone. Chapter 3: Alleged Feud with Kanye West. In 2009, Taylor Swift went on her very first headlining tour, during which she performed in front of sold-out crowds throughout North America. During the same year, Swift was also very successful on the industry awards circuit. In April, the Academy of Country Music named Fearless the Album of the Year, and in September, she won the award for Best Female Video at the MTV Video Music Awards, VMAs, for her performance of You Belong With Me. Both of these honors were for her work on the album Fearless. Kanye West, a rapper, cut Taylor Swift off in the middle of her acceptance speech at the Video Music Awards. West argued that the prize ought to have been presented to Beyoncé for what he referred to as one of the finest videos of all time. Later on in the show, as Beyoncé was winning the award for Video of the Year, she brought Swift on stage to finish her statement, which resulted in a standing ovation being given to both of the artists. In November of the same year, Taylor Swift attended the CMA Awards and won all 4 of the categories in which she was nominated. She was the youngest person to ever win the CMA Performer of the Year award, and she was also the first female solo artist to win the award since 1999. Her triumph made her the youngest ever recipient of that honor. She kicked out 2010 with a strong performance at the Grammy Awards, where she won 4 honors, including the awards for a Best Country Song, a Best Country Album, and the most prestigious award, the Album of the Year. Later on, in the same year, Swift made her debut in the feature-length film Valentine's Day, a romantic comedy, and was also appointed the new spokeswoman for CoverGirl Cosmetics at that time. Swift was unexpectedly forthright in her songs, even though she avoided talking about her personal life in interviews. Her third studio album, released in 2010, was titled Speak Now, and it was filled with references to romantic connections she has had with John Mayer, Joe Jonas of the Jonas Brothers, and Taylor Lautner, an actor in the Twilight series. Swift received the CMA Entertainer of the Year award for the second time in 2011, and the following year she won Grammys for Best Country Solo Performance and Best Country Song for her hit Mean, which was off her album Speak Now. Before releasing her second studio album, Red, 2012, Taylor Swift resumed her career in acting with a vocal part in the animated film adaptation of Dr. Seuss' The Lorax, 2012. 2012. Her music represented a more mature view on the issue of early love, and most of the album adopted a strong pop rock style. Although she did not shift her attention away from the ephemeral nature of first love, she did not abandon it. Red sold 1.2 million copies in its first week of release in the United States, making it the album with the greatest one-week total in the last 10 years. In addition, Swift had her first #1 success on the Billboard Pop Singles chart with the upbeat We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, which served as the album's first single. Swift's 1989 album, released in 2014, was named after the year she was born and was influenced by the music of that period. Swift labeled 1989 her first official pop album, even though she had previously been gradually shifting away from the typical country signifiers that distinguished her early work. It was largely due to the success of the peppy lead single, Shake It Off, that Swift's new album became an instant commercial success, outselling Red in its first week. Eventually, it sold over 5 million copies in the US alone, earning Swift her second Grammy Award for Album of the Year. Swift also had a supporting part in the film version of Lois Lowry's dystopian book The Giver, released in 2014. Chapter 4: Reputation and Other Albums. After Kanye West released the track Famous in 2016, their dispute heated back up. Swift said the song was sexist since it included a phrase calling her a bitch. Kim Kardashian, West's wife, published a tape of a phone call in which Swift granted her okay for the phrase, although West did not mention calling her a bitch during the conversation, which inflamed the public feud. Former radio DJ David Neeler sued Swift, her mother, and a promoter in August 2017 after she falsely accused him of sexually molesting her at a picture shoot in 2013. Mueller claimed that Swift's accusations harmed his career. She filed an answer, insisting the attack had occurred. At trial, the jury agreed with Swift's counterclaim, dismissing Swift from Mueller's complaint and finding the other 2 defendants not responsible. Shortly later, Swift dropped the smash single, Look What You Made Me Do, and her album Reputation went on to become the best-selling American LP of 2017. Swift left Big Machine in 2018 and signed with Republic Records and Universal Music Group. The master recordings of her 6 albums were sold to Scooter Braun, a talent manager whose clients have included Kanye West, the following year. Swift spoke out against the deal in public, saying that Borchetta had turned down her requests for the master tapes and that Braun had been mean to her for years. She later tried to make a deal with Braun, but in 2020, he sold her old music to a private investment firm. Swift started re-recording her early songs to get control of them. She hoped that her new versions, not the originals, would be sought out for licensing deals. Fearless, Taylor's version, and Red, Taylor's version, came out in 2021. They were new versions of older albums that included songs that had never been released before. Chapter 5, Conclusion. Swift's seventh album, Lover, came out in 2019. She called it a love letter to love itself. In the same year, she was also in the movie version of Andrew Lloyd Webber's hugely popular stage show Cats. A film called Miss Americana, 2020, is about her life and work. She put out Folklore in 2020 with not much notice. Swift's eighth studio album was a big change from her previous pop-influenced work. It was praised for its introspection and restraint, and it won the Grammy for Album of the Year. Evermore, this sister record, came out later in 2020. Swift gave Midnights, which came out in 2022, a synth-pop sound. She said it was the story of 13 sleepless nights scattered throughout my life.